Ре мажор.
To see a more solid version of what I
Ми.
mean. I'll pronounce these words twice instead of just a single. You're really trying to get the base of your tongue and the back of your mouth to touch the back part of the roof of your mouth, then make it vibrate a little bit, and then add some voice behind it. Let's see some example words to see a more solid version of what I mean. I'll pronounce these words twice instead of just a single time like I did with the other examples to show you that you can choose between harsh and not harsh. Regen, Regen. Then add a little bit of your voice behind that. R. Some people equate it to a softer version of gargling with some voice behind it. You're really trying to get the base of your tongue and the back of your mouth to touch the back part of the roof of your mouth, then make it vibrate a little bit, and then add some voice behind it. Let's see some example words to see a more solid version of what I mean. I'll pronounce these words twice instead of just a single time like I did with the other examples to show you that you can choose between harsh and not harsh. Regen, Regen.
Regen.
Rot, Rot.
Rot.
Hören,
Hören.
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 Her,
Her.
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 Dürr,
Dürr.
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 Rosen,
Rosen.
Rosen. The other R sound is the vocalic R. It sounds more like a vowel than it does a consonant, which is why it's called this. Take the sound that we had for the consonant R and move your tongue just far enough away from the roof of your mouth that it no longer makes that raspy sound. It can also be described as the combination of E and A in German, as this makes a very similar sound, Ehe. It is most commonly used at the end of a German word when it ends in ER. It also shows up at the end of a word after a long vowel sound, and in the middle of a word after a long vowel sound, and before another consonant. If that sounds complicated, listen to the following examples and I'll show you which categories they fall into. Bruder, Mutter, Schwester. They end with ER, therefore we say er. Tor, Meer, Chor, Bier. After a long vowel sound at the end of a word, we say Herd, Pferd. This is in the middle of a word before a consonant. The letter S has two options when it's used on its own, buzzed or unbuzzed. If it's at the beginning of a word or at the middle of a word on its own, it is pronounced as a Z in English. Singen, sitzen, reisen, leise. If you double the S anywhere in a word, or you use the S at the end of a word on its own, it is pronounced like the hissing snake sound that you're used to in English. Gleis, Glas, Schloss, Wissen. This weird-looking dude is basically just two S's shoved together. It's called an S-set. It will always make the sound S. If you have a word that uses this sound in the middle of a word or at the end of the word, it is likely that you need an S-set. Officially, it is used after a long vowel or a diphthong. This ends up looking confusing when you see it as an infinitive of a verb, but not in other forms of the same verb. If you follow the rules I mentioned earlier, you'll figure it out pretty quickly. Fuß, fließen, Straße, beißen. Let's take a look at the verb beißen. The present tense uses the S set for all of its forms. That's because there is a diphthong before the S set. Ich beiße, du beißt, beißt. In the simple past tense, all of the forms take a double S because it's preceded by a short vowel. Ich biss, du bissest, biss. See? Everything follows the rules. Back to the letters that are a lot easier to figure out. The letter T is always a T. It sounds like T. It's more fun when you add it to other letters and consonants and stuff, but remember, today's video is about consonants on their own. In the next video, I'll talk about how it's combined with other things. So for today's video, T says T. For instance, Tag, Teil, tragen, raten, Auto, gut, rot. V is a bit odd because sometimes it sounds the same as the English, but sometimes it sounds like the letter F in English. If the word is of German origin, it is probably pronounced like F, unless it's at the end of a word, in which case it is pronounced like V. If it is a foreign word, it is probably pronounced v. So, here are a few examples as used as a viel, Vogel, Volk, Vater, Veilchen, and now as a v. Vase, Klavier, Verb, Privat, Universität. W is easier because it is always pronounced as the English V sound, V. Nothing complicated about this letter at all, other than it doesn't sound like the English W, W. It's V. Welt, Wolke, verschwinden, vorwärts. In random English words involving a W, it's pronounced like the English W, but that's because they're just English words being used by Germans. Wow. Show. If you combine the letters K and S, you end up with the sound that you need for the German X. X. There are pretty much no German words that start with an X. Hexe, taxi, flex. You can tell I'm running out of words that use the letter X in German when I use the German word for an angle grinder. The letter Z is like the TS sound at the end of the word hats. It just takes a little bit of practice not to pronounce it like the English Z. Zimmer, zwischen, Zug, Ziel, Salz, Netz, plötzlich.
Fühlen Sie sich auch vom Auf und Ab der Aktienmärkte überfordert? Hallo, ich bin Harry Weinfurt. Sie kennen mich noch als Moderator von Der Preis ist heiß und wissen, was für tolle Preise meine Kandidaten dort gewinnen konnten. Aber keiner dieser Preise war groß genug, um damit eine sichere Altersvorsorge aufzubauen. Umso mehr freue ich mich heute mit Ihnen ein Geheimnis zu teilen, das Ihnen hilft, den Grundstein für ein Vermögen zu legen. Dieses Geheimnis hat ohne Übertreibung mein Leben verändert. Ja, wirklich. Und wenn es Ihnen so geht wie mir, dann wird diese Entdeckung auch Ihr Leben verändern. Denn wie viele anderen war auch ich auf der Suche nach einer Geldanlage, die lukrativ und sicher ist. Aber ich sage es Ihnen ganz ehrlich, der ständige Rauf und Runter der Aktienkurse macht mich verrückt. Wer soll da noch durchblicken? Zum Glück kenne ich jemanden, der sich mit dieser Geldanlage auskennt. Mein guter Freund Alexander von Pasewalk sagte zu mir, Harry, mach dir doch nicht so einen Stress. Investiere einfach in die 3 Aktien, die langfristiges Gewinnpotenzial haben. Und dann gab er mir seinen neuen Spezialreport mit dem schönen Titel 3 Aktien für die Ewigkeit. Aber der Name ist tatsächlich sehr passend. Einmal die Aktien kaufen und sich dann über den stetigen Wertzuwachs freuen. So einfach kann Börse sein. Ich bin sicher, Sie wollen wissen, um welche 3 Aktien es sich handelt, oder? Klicken Sie dafür einfach unten auf die Schaltfläche, wenn Sie vor dem Rechner sitzen, oder tippen Sie oben, wenn Sie mein Video gerade auf dem Smartphone anschauen. Geben Sie dann einfach Ihre E-Mail-Adresse ein. Und Sie erfahren, welche 3 Aktien für die Ewigkeit ich mir auf Alexander von Pasewalks Empfehlung in mein Depot geholt habe. Ich wünsche Ihnen auch viel Erfolg.
Преимущество у того, кто лучше понимает клиента.
The most discussed consonant combination in the German language has to be the CH combination. It has 2 distinct sounds. The first one is the easier of the 2. It's the soft CH sound, or the front CH. It's the same sound that you hear at the beginning of the name Hugh. Hugh. There's a list of letters that you can memorize if you want to really figure out when to use this sound, but honestly, it just sounds right as opposed to the other sound. The letters used before this sound are E, A umlaut, I, E, U, A umlaut, U, and O umlaut. You can also use it after a consonant. Easy version, if the sound preceding the CH comes from the front of your mouth, use the soft CH. Here are some examples. Becher, echt, Fächer, mächtig, ich, nicht, gleich, leicht, riechen, Grieche, euch, feucht, bräuche, bäuche, Köcher, Löcher, solche, Milch. The other sound is from the back of the throat and is made after vowels that come from the back.
Вот это и
потому что наоборот, потому что привет всем людям, привет людям всем.